What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Horror Fan 88 channel. Got another video for y'all today. This is actually a tag video. This is the Metal Up Your Ass tag created by Sean Erschen and HELLHOUND from the Horrormetal channel. I was one of the many people that got tagged, and you know, anytime I get to talk about metal is always good for me. So yeah, we have 17 questions here, so let's go ahead and get started. Number 1. Best guitar solo. I'd say as of right now, because there are so many good ones, I'd say maybe one by Metallica, even though I know there are, better ones and stuff like that. Some of these questions are really good, and I actually had to think about. So, I'd say that, probably one by Metallica. Number 2, what band got you into metal? I pretty much grew up around people that listen to metal, so I've been pretty much listening to that specific genre my whole life. But I'd say the one that comes closest is probably Metallica, even though when I was growing up it was all about Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, Exodus, all of it. So I'd say Metallica. Number 3, who is your favorite metal vocalist? I'd probably say Chuck Billy from Testament. He can do the highs, he can do the low death metal vocals. But yeah, I'd say as of right now, probably Chuck Billy. He's always been a favorite for many years, so I guess I'll just go with that. Number 4, what is your favorite metal album? I'd say Leprosy by Death. Death is my favorite band. And, their whole catalog is just great. To me, they've never put out a bad album whatsoever. And unfortunately, the head dude himself, Chuck Schuldiner, passed away many, many years ago. So we haven't had a new Death album. But, yeah. Number 5, who's the best classic metal band? If this counts, I'd say Iron Maiden. I love Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, but I pretty much grew up listening more to Iron Maiden, if that counts. But yeah, I'd say Iron Maiden. Who's the best thrash metal band? Now that's a tough one for me. I pretty much juggle between Testament and Slayer. Once again, Testament, I think, has not put out a bad album. Over their many, many years. Can't wait for their new album to come out very soon. Yeah, the only album I really hear people say is just their weakest point would be Low. And hell, even that album still has some great tracks on it as well. But yeah, Slayer, one of the heaviest thrash bands. Once again, they've had a few misses, but I ain't gonna hold that against them. They're fucking Slayer. But yeah, either one of those. Next, who's the best death metal band? I'm going to go with Death because, they're my band. But with saying that, there are still some great death metal bands out there. Morbid Angel. My favorite Morbid Angel album is Altars of Madness. Fucking awesome. Cannibal Corpse, Entombed, Deicide, Obituary. So many great death metal bands, but Death. Next up, who's the best 90s metal band? I'd say Pantera. They were in the 80s, Pantera, but that was during their glam metal era, where everyone called them Glam Terra. But they really hit their stride in the 90s, so I'd say definitely Pantera. They're great. Rest in peace, Dimebag and Vinnie Paul. Next, who in your opinion is the heaviest band of all time? Another hard question. I'd say Cannibal Corpse. They have a lot of heavy material. And, once again, they're one of the biggest death metal bands out there. But there's also a thrash metal band that I don't really hear too many people talk about. That is Demolition Hammer. Definitely one of the heaviest thrash bands. If you haven't checked them out, without a doubt, do it. Next up, do you prefer Black Sabbath with Ozzy or with Dio? I think that Black Sabbath is mostly known for, their work with Ozzy. When people think about Black Sabbath, they mostly think of Ozzy. But my favorite Black Sabbath album is Heaven or Hell, which featured Ronnie James Dio. So I guess you could say I prefer Ozzy just because of so much great material, but the stuff with Dio is great as well. I guess just for my favorite record by them, Dio, I guess. I love Dio, rest in peace. He has so much great material as well. Yeah. Next up, who's the greatest guitarist of all time? Once again, a great question. But I think I'm going to agree with Hellhound and go with Tony Iommi because he's pretty much the godfather of heavy metal. So many great riffs. He's an excellent guitarist. And yeah, I'll go with Tony Iommi. Next, who is the greatest drummer of all time? I'm going to actually go with Dave Lombardo. He's my personal favorite because he is just a machine on the drums, especially on songs like Angel of Death with the drum solo, and it just sounds like thunder. God, definitely that. Definitely Dave Lombardo. Next, who is the greatest bass player of all time? Personally, I think I'll go with Steve Harris of Iron Maiden. Once again, I grew up loving Iron Maiden so much. My favorite, I know most of the time when I hear people talk about Iron Maiden, their favorite albums would probably be Number of the Beast, which is an excellent album. But my personal favorite album by Iron Maiden is Power Slave. Always love that album. And, they have one of the most underrated albums, Fear of the Dark. That album I've heard a lot of hate on. That was actually the first Iron Maiden album that I had ever listened to. So maybe call it nostalgia, but I have never had an issue with that album whatsoever. But yeah. Next, who is the best metal band today? I don't really listen to a lot of newer metal, but there is still some great stuff out there, of course, like Testament's new stuff coming out. But I guess for a newer band, I guess Havoc, they're pretty good. Yeah, I'll go with Havoc. Next, who is the best alternative band? Once again, I never really delved too deep into alternative metal. I guess Faith No More, if that counts. Once again, I haven't listened to too much of their stuff, but if they count, I think they count as alternative metal. I'll go with that. Next up, who has the coolest gimmick in metal? Fucking Gwar, without a doubt. Not only is their gimmick cool, but their music is great as well. If you've never heard Gwar, check them out. They are fucking awesome. Final question. Who is the greatest metal band of all time? Once again, an excellent question. But just for my personal preference, Death. It's just a band that I love so much. And, Chuck Schuldiner was the god of death metal. Of course, there's always that debate on who had the first death metal album between Possessed, Seven Churches, which came out in 85, and Death, Scream, Bloody Gore, which came out in 88 or 87. But, I hear both sides of it. Some people say Possessed, Seven Churches has more of a thrash, like instrumental sound with more death metal vocals, and then Scream Bloody Gore is just a straight death. I respect both of the albums, and I love them both. But yeah, Death, just all of their albums, Scream Bloody Gore, Leprosy, Spiritual Healing, Human, Individual Thought Patterns, Symbolic, The Sound of Perseverance, everything by them was great, and yeah, that's why they're my favorite. They just never put out anything bad. But with that being said, that was a hell of a lot of fun to make, a hell of a lot of fun to talk about. Thank you, Sean and Hellhound, for tagging me. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Stay tuned for more. I will see y'all on the next one. Keep it horror.